welcome everybody to the Transatlantic Watch Party, a TikTok live slash podcast that Dan and I do together. He's in Canada, I'm in the UK. I'm Cara, by the way. And we watch a show separately and then get together at the weekend to discuss it. And this week we are discussing 911, Season 8, Episode 13, Invisible. Did you like it, Dan? Generally?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. In a dark way by the end of it. But yeah, I like the recurring character of what's his name again?
Archie.
Archie, yeah. I liked Archie. I like that actor too, actually. I hope we see him in other things. That actor was very good.
I was trying to think if I knew him because his name seemed familiar and everything, and yet I have failed to Google him before we did this recording, so no idea. But I do enjoy the episodes where we sort of see a repeat. I don't want to say
that happened before.
Yeah, we've had a couple. The one I remember is one, I think it was called Cursed. I'm not sure. They were like this sort of Hollywood lady, actress lady, just kept getting caught up in worse and worse situations.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this one took a dark turn. It really did.
Yeah, did not go where I expected it to go. But I knew there was going to be three. I know the rule of threes, and I know how this works. And after we got that second one with him, I'm like, all right, I know there's going to be a third incident at some point. Yeah, and we're going to see. So every time as soon as he came back on screen, I'm like, oh no, what's gonna right? We'll get to it.
Something not good is about to happen.
Yeah.
So again, we had I would call it a two storyliner this week. Mm-hmm. So we had Hen's storyline, which made me physically angry. Oh. And then the Eddie storyline, which made me physically very happy. So do we want to do storyline by storyline like we did? I think that's a nice way to do it.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
So we'll start with the Hen and Archie of it all, because they were very much intertwined. They were going through similar things this week.
Uh-huh.
And we started with a great scene of Archie being fired from his job.
Right. And I thought it was very well, the whole timing of it was hilarious. Like by the reveal at the end of that scene was quite well done. Because you don't really know what the job is, and it's obviously some sort of customer service job. And it's obviously his manager's younger than him, clearly younger than him, which is like not an uncommon situation these days. And it kind of reminded me a bit of Shaun of the Dead, and of that,
yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Having that guy who's just like, so disrespectful to the older person kind of thing. But yeah, he's being fired, basically. Archie's being fired from Cluck and Pluck.
Cluck and Pluck, yeah.
Just not Cluck and Pluck. Not everyone is Cluck and Pluck material.
Yeah.
I have to say that go ahead.
And it's the way he's been, he's not been sacked over this one customer feedback form, but they show him the only customer feedback form he's ever had, and it was neutral.
Yeah.
That is a lead into all of his problems. And then his boss says to him, Dale says to him, I was meant to do this before Christmas. And he's like, well, I appreciate, that was very nice of you to not sack me during the holidays. And he's like, honestly, I just forgot you worked.
Yeah. Richie's got a rock. Hey, man, Richie is just in a tough spot. Nobody notices him.
Yeah. Did you say Richie?
Sorry, Archie.
Yeah.
Archie, yeah. I meant, I was thinking of something else. I have to say that before we move on, that Cluck and Pluck is probably the worst name for a fast food chicken restaurant I've ever heard. Let's not remind people these were once creatures that were alive, that made noises and that had feathers that, they had to plug a hot. Let's remember the two things that will remind you that this was once a living creature, is in the name of the restaurant. But I think they were just looking for something funny, and that's something that rhymed.
Yeah. I think I can't remember what it is now that they have in the Rookie. They keep referring to what is essentially TikTok, but they can't use the word TikTok, so they call it something like Clip Clop. Like there's a Clip Clop app or something. Okay. That's absolutely brilliant. And then he goes home to his Like, he's like, dude, I'm about to get married, and I told my cousin that I would help him with a down payment for his house. So, immediate introduction to the two important characters we're about to meet. So he goes home to his very messy apartment. So he is obviously a neat guy, and his fiancée is not a neat person, and she's left absolute carnage in her wake. And so he makes that apartment beautiful. It's gorgeous when he finishes it. And then he goes and they've got one of those lift up beds with the storage inside it. And the sheet is caught on it. And immediately I was like, you're pulling it the wrong. It was like so obvious he was pulling it the wrong way. And it annoyed me a little bit just because I thought Archie's actually seems like quite a diligent bloke. And I don't think I kind of figure out he would notice that.
Well, not only that, I thought the same thing for that one and for the next incident with Archie when he's like, "Why are you reaching for it like that? Like, why don't you go around, move around, and for the bed? It's like, why don't you walk around the bed and just undo it, and then you're good, and you're not trapped." But of course, they want to decide that he gets trapped in there as his fiance and cousin come busting in, just going at it. And not knowing he's under there, and they're just having the time of their lives on the bed.
And he does try and say, to be fair to him, he is like, he's trying to. And I think his watch calls 911.
I was going to ask, how did that happen? Like, is it like?
I think some watches, like if your heart rate gets too high, they call 911 for you or something. So I think his watch did it. And like, has that dispatcher never heard sex before? Because it was so obviously not a pained cry.
Yes, I wrote down LOL, call sounds like sex. Yeah. That's exactly what that sounds like. And I would think that someone like we did have a butt dial later in the episode. So I'm like, this sounds like somebody butt dialed 911 during sex. That's exactly what that, and I'm sure that does happen at some point. Some people probably do that.
And I don't know like what the procedures are. Like, I don't know if like they have to legally cover their backs. And so if they don't get a better response from someone, because she obviously can't hear the call. And so I don't know whether they have like a legal responsibility to send someone out, but the dispatcher sends them out so quickly.
Absolutely. And they get there and, boy, is Buck eager to use that battering ram.
I wrote that.
Use it. Yes, you can use it, Buck. Bam! Just getting in there. Oh man, that was hilarious.
The smile on that dork's face. He really loves it when he gets to use equipment of any kind. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Yes. I don't know if you've ever seen him with a circular saw. Oh my God, that boy and his circular saws. It's a very special relationship. But the other thing I noticed about that is I did a video previously about them using one of those door knocker opener things, the ram. And when the door swings open, there is absolutely not a dent on the door. And I was like, I've had my door opened like that. And it, not when I lived there, the people before me lived there. And when I moved in, there was a big round dent in my front door. And so I was really thrilled. I was like, they've seen my video. Because this time, big hole in the door. So I was very pleased with that. And then we get some amazing dialogue. There's a great line where he's like, I got trapped in the bed, and then they came in and started fornicating on top of me. And she's like, no, you were in there on purpose. You were spying on us. And the cousin's like, yeah, man, where's the trust, cuz? The irony, absolutely.
Oh boy.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and then the other line when they're like, "Oh, we should take you to the hospital." Miraculously, he's okay. He was not hurt during this whole thing. He gets up and he's fine. And they're like, "We should still take you to the hospital." And he's like, "Are you sure, really?" And then they're like, he says, "I just lost my health coverage." And they're like, "You lost? You got fired? Whoa, bro!" And they're both like super disappointed. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll go with you. I got to get out of here."
Yes. So. Yeah. And he says a line that really struck with me. He said, "I'm the kind of guy that blends into the furniture." And I did a play once, and I played a maid, and the costumer said to me, I don't know if you've noticed, but your dress is made out of the same material I covered the furniture with, because she's just a part of the furniture to the family. And I was like, oh, I love it. Like, I just same grey material on the sofa that was my outfit. Oh, nice. Then we move on to so we're sticking with Hen. We go on to a cracking outfit montage. Gotta love an outfit montage.
Well, my question is, do people do this? Like, do people try on multiple outfits at the beginning of the day before they go out? Is that something people do?
I'm a pick up whatever looks clean off the floor kind of person.
Yeah,
so I can't answer that for myself. I would never do that. But I think some people are. And like Hen is a fashion gal. So I can understand that character would be like, I'm going to look, I need to put on my favourite clothes today. So I'm going to check all of my angles and all of my outfits.
And it is her birthday. And it's clearly like the whole point of that scene is to make it, to let us know it's her birthday with the song. The song is a clue. That, and then doing them, and she wants to be special. She wants it to be a special day. So clearly birthdays are important to her. I don't know if this has come up in the past or not, but she basically, you know, gets all dressed up, and then when she goes to see her family, they have all clearly forgotten that it's her birthday.
Yeah.
Now I want to ask her, has this ever happened to you?
No. Has it happened to you?
No, not really. I was thinking about this too. Well, here's the thing though. I realized that it hasn't really happened in the age of Facebook, because you always get those Facebook birthday wishes. So somebody's always seeing that on Facebook. That's your birthday, and they're always going to wish you that. So in this age, I've not had that experience, but
yeah, but your family. I mean, this is why I was physically angry. I just didn't buy it at all.
Yeah.
That every single, except for Athena and Eddie, only due to a Facebook reminder, only those people remembered her birthday. That I just refused to buy it. I don't believe it. It made me so mad. I was like, I know you needed a reason to tie these two characters together, but could we have had something other than Hen being horribly hurt by everyone she loves for getting her birthday? Just, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were all very sorry about it afterward.
I mean, yes, they are, and quite right. And as she goes to work, and oh god, it's so horrible. She goes to work, and it's Hen Day, and she's like, "Oh,
high energy nozzles." Was it high frequency nozzles?
Yes. So hurtful. I was absolutely fuming. I mean, very funny, but really mad. And again, oh my god, Book looked so excited with these nozzles. And Bobby said a brilliant line. He said, "Maybe we'll get lucky and even respond to a fire today." And I was like, I love it when a show calls themselves out.
And then he's like, but he immediately walks it back with a safe, manageable fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not wishing anything bad to happen to anybody, right?
Yeah. And did we then go immediately back to Archie? I think we did. Archie and his nuts.
Yeah, and this is when I kind of started to clue in. I think this might have been the first time I've seen them come back to a character like this, like a person that they responded to. And so, but I very quickly realized what was going to happen. I became so nervous in this scene. Like at any point, like, is the car going to come crashing down? And I was like so convinced he was going to get hurt, because he wasn't really hurt the first time. I thought he would get hurt probably a little bit more the second time. And just everything around this, when he gets in there, he's reaching for the nut, and he's like, what are you doing reaching over top of the tire like that? That's the stupidest thing. Get out of there, go underneath and reach in from underneath.
Yeah, or I was like, go back and get, the wrench, whatever, and knock it out. Like, but some people don't think, and Archie is not at his best. No. So clearly, and so yeah, and there's the guy, the driver, starts the truck, drives. I thought there were horrible noises going on, and his arm had been pulled out of place, and all sorts of awful things happened. And he said, "Why couldn't I see you?" because no one ever does. Oh, Archie. So sad. And the 118 turn up again, and they don't remember him except Hen. And she's like, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. And I'm like, really? How many people do you see? Like, I think it's reasonable not to. I would never. Well, I mean, I'm the kind of person who doesn't think people I work with will remember who I am like a year down the line. So, yeah. So, yeah, I thought that was a bit much. But she's very annoyed with them. She is mad at them about everything. Justifiably. And when they get him out and he is again fine, he tells her that when he went to the hospital, they didn't call his name at the hospital. And she's like, didn't you say anything? And he's like, I didn't want to be a bother. And I totally get that. Like, because he wasn't hurt anyway. He didn't think he needed to be there. And she is mean to him. Like, the speech that she gives him, you are important and you should take up space and do all that stuff. I was like, okay, fine, yeah. But she says, you're making yourself disappear and that's your fault. And I was like, oh, that feels unnecessarily harsh.
Yeah.
And
well, as we learned.
Later when she's like, I wasn't even really talking to you, I was talking to myself. I don't believe that Hen thought that about herself. I believe that she thought everyone else was a dick because they forgot her birthday. At no point did Hen think, this is my fault that people have forgotten my birthday. We were never presented with that idea.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that was at him, and I just think that is a really mean thing to say to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I was not, didn't like that. Didn't like that at all.
Well, and very clearly, Archie's just he has bad luck. He is just in a bad state of things, crappy job, fiance who doesn't love him, cheats on him, cousin who's freeloading off of him, car, flat tire, like everything goes wrong for him, right? Over the course of which is like, I guess is not that surprising that he goes in the direction he goes in by the end of the episode, but it's just like, he keeps getting knocked down and it's so disheartening to go through that. And then you do feel worthless. So I can absolutely relate to how he feels in that moment for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. But I think as well, if she hadn't been like, this is your fault, you need to stand up and take responsibility for like, you taking up space in the world. I think maybe he wouldn't have gone quite in the direction. Like, I
Probably
think,
not.
because sometimes, when people say like, a problem shared is a problem halved. Is that the phrase? Like the idea that if you tell someone about your issues, then things will get better. And sometimes I think, if I tell people about my issues, it just makes me madder about my issues. And I think that that's what happened to Archie. He finally found someone who would listen to him, and she got so mad on his behalf and at him that he internalized all this stuff that he hadn't really thought about before. Like, he was just like, it's not great, but that's just my life. And then he was like, this shouldn't be my life, and I need to take responsibility for this. And, so I think it was all an unfortunate conflagration of events.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we skip over some more Eddie stuff. And then we get into the timeline stuff, which is the other thing. You saw my video about it, about how long did Hen's birthday last?
Oh, yes. And I also had questions about this too when I actually watched the episode. I'm like, yeah, because it felt like the next day or something like that this is all happening. It just not all happening in one day.
No,
right?
Because she goes home. The next time we see Hen after she's given this speech to Archie, she goes home. It is nighttime.
Yeah, it's the end of the day.
Yeah, it is meant to be dinner time. Karen mentions dinner. Karen wearing that gorgeous coat and looking amazing. Karen mentions dinner and having cake after dinner. And yet, the next time we see Hen after that, it is again nighttime. So it's got to be the next day that they go
back to work after that, right? She's home for the day. Yeah, so that's stupid. I agree. That was so weird.
Oh, Auntie's here. Hi, Auntie.
Right.
And yeah, so the timeline was all messed up. And I did say I was so proud of them in the previous episode because they got the timeline right. Like, they specifically told us the information that we needed to know in episode 12. And then episode 13, it all went away again. I'm just asking for a little consistency.
I don't know if you're going to get it.
Never. And to be honest, I'd probably be disappointed if they gave it to me. Because at this point, we're 8 seasons in, we've never had consistency. I'd be like, who's running this show now? This doesn't feel the same.
Sorry, can we go back to the scene? I forgot to mention this. The scene where they save him from the truck tire. I have to say, I loved it I love that Bobby can always figure out how to get him out. Like, I wouldn't even thought to take off the tire. I was like, how are they going to get him out of that? And Bobby's like, yep, we're going to jack it up. We're going to get that tire off. We're going to figure out, like, no matter what the situation, and they come into some weird situations, like they really do. He can figure out how to get the person out of the situation as quickly and painlessly as possible. And I appreciate that about Bobby.
Yeah, he's been doing this job for a while. He's a smart dude. Bobby is here for all of us.
And then in the scene,
in the scene where Hen gets the balloon bouquet. And I loved it that she says, Chim goes whimsical when he knows he's done wrong. And I was like, yeah, that feels so Chim.
Yeah, a big giant balloon. And they had a lot of fun with that balloon bouquet. She's leaving, right? She tries to storm out of there with it, and it's like getting caught in the door. She's going to come back for a chocolate, and she's getting out of there. So, yeah, and I did not think she went back to work after all of that. She went and ate her chocolate and, that's the type of
sleep. And And they work. The shifts that they work, it wouldn't make any sense. That would be irresponsible and illegal to send her straight back to work. But I did not like her mum's response when Tony said, you're being silly, right? I thought it led into a very good moment for Hen where she's like, yes, and that's what's even more upsetting, that such a stupid little thing has hurt me this much. And I like that it led into that. But, Tony pissed me off this episode. I was not happy with her at all.
Well, she was very unapologetic in there. She's like, you should be thanking me. I gave birth to you. And all that. I'm like, just say sorry. Say you're sorry. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to go on about it, right? And the whole thing, even before in their earlier call, we kind of skipped over that scene, but she was also very like, oh, I butt dialed you and all this other stuff. She was not very caring of Hen, right?
Yeah, I was very disappointed. Ante said, Tony is the only parent we like and they're ruining it. Because everyone on this show has a dodgy relationship with their parents. And Tony is the only one who's had a redemption arc that we've sort of bought into.
Okay.
So don't ruin this, 911. She's the only one we have.
Clearly.
So yeah, I was very upset by that. So then we get to Archie's in his car. He's living in his car, as he said to Hen at the last call. And his car is getting towed. And I was like, one of two things has happened here. Either they're just ignoring everything and shouldn't they check the car before they tow it? Or is he so invisible?
I think that's what they're saying.
Yeah, and I only got that on the second viewing that I was like, oh my god, they did check the car and they still towed it.
They didn't see him. He was probably like a lump of clothes or something in the back, and they didn't see him, and they're like, all right, tow it.
Yeah.
They tow it. Yeah. But then he tries to get out as they're towing it away, and he comes flying out of the car with all his stuff, goes all over the street, and he basically is kind of left out in the street as his car gets towed away. Which sucks, and he's just kind of like, I don't know, he's at the bottom of the barrel, right? Things can't get anywhere.
Yeah, and it's one of those things about, being poor is the most expensive thing you can be. Because, he's lost his job, he's lost his relationships, and he's lost his house. He's living in his car. He doesn't have money, that's why he's living in his car. His car gets towed. So now he has to pay to get his car back. It's just everything. Just the punishment for being poor is just terrible and ongoing and relentless. And so, I mean, he's just having the worst couple of days, 3 days possibly, a couple of days of his life, because it's definitely a different day. Yep. And he is walking down the street with the few belongings that he has. one of which is very handily a knife block.
Which just seems like an odd thing that you would like. This is, by the way, this is from his ex-fiance now had left his stuff stacked outside, so he had to go get it and put it in his. So like that would be something I would keep. Like knives are useful to have in the house, but I guess maybe it really was his, and she really was giving him all of his things back. So one of them was a knife block.
Maybe she's not much of a cook. Do you know what I mean? And so she was just like, that needs to go, that needs to go, that needs to go. And she didn't think, oh, actually, these are some really nice knives. I'll keep these. And yeah, and the guys who are coming from the game, I don't know what kind of sport they've been watching.
Sporting event.
Yes.
Face paint. Yeah, they look like generic football fans.
Is it? Yeah, I wondered if it was football. And they run past him, and one of them knocks into him and is like, "Sorry, man, didn't see you." And that is the straw that breaks Archie's camel's back.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets on the bus with the knife hidden behind his back, and then the next thing we see, he's holding this entire bus hostage. He doesn't have anywhere to go. He's not making demands. He's just hasn't thought it through. It's never going to end well for him. Even if he doesn't stab anyone, it's not going to end well for him. But he has this brilliant moment where he's like, no one sees me and I'm going to take up space. And now you're all staring at me, which is making me very uncomfortable. So stop looking at me.
Like, you wanted us to see you. He's like, I know. And he's very confused, and it's very, very sad. And we saw like our only Maddie scene, by the way. It's the only time we saw Maddie is when that call comes in from the bus. And then they send everybody down. And then it kind of remind me a little bit of Speed, a bit of a Speed situation where there's not a bomb, but a person with a knife threatening people.
Which is really funny because I just watched the episode of The Rookie, last week's episode, which was called Speed, which was about hostages on a bus.
Oh, okay, cool.
And my friend Anna, who I watch with, she was talking about they wanted to black out the windows so that people couldn't see what was going on inside the bus, and they didn't have the blackout stuff. They'd left it at home, so they covered it with newspaper. And Anna was like, "Oh, that's brilliant," because she works in TV, and she was like, "Oh, that's so that they don't have to drive the bus anywhere for the interior shots. They just battle the bus around and people run around with lights, so it looks like they're moving." And that just such a brilliant little way of getting out of having to do all of that, CGI work that you'd need to do.
Can I ask you, does this TV series take place in present day?
What, The Rookie?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes place in LA now. It's the same network as ABC, as 911, and it's the show that people want a crossover with.
Okay. Well, all I will say is it doesn't seem very, very realistic that there would be a newspaper in existence in this day and age on a bus.
It's a good point. Right, I mean, in the UK, we have a free newspaper. Oh, we used to.
The Metro?
Yeah, the Metro.
We had that here as well for a brief, a couple of years, and then it was gone. And it was free on the bus. That was their big thing, giving it away free on the bus, but it was gone now.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm getting 2 bus hostage situations in the, and at least eventually they referenced Speed, like right at the very end of the Rookie episode, but they never mentioned it in 911.
No, I'm surprised, actually.
And I can't imagine that anyone of my generation or older who would have seen Speed, I do not think that you would ever get a bus hostage situation and not be like, hey, it's like Speed. And I saw what was going to happen way before it happened, because that man was not going to stab anyone. Not on purpose.
No.
So
it was very much an accident.
Yeah, and I thought I was glad they did it that way, because if they'd suddenly had him stabbing someone, I would have not believed it. But the police, did a stupid thing. I don't know why they dealt with it that way. They spread that thing across the road that blows out the tires.
Yeah.
And then they parked their cars in front of it. And I was like, well, you're asking for trouble. So in the second episode in a row, we got police cars exploding all over the place. Stop parking your police cars in stupid places.
But I thought the snipers were a bit overkill, and all those like all the guns. Like this guy's got a knife, and yes, that is a dangerous weapon. Not to say it's not, but yeah, they were just kind of coming at it like, holy crap, everything. Like I thought they were gonna take a shot at him. I really did. That when they're like, you see the sniper there, kind of trying to get him. Like, oh man, that would suck. If that's the way he goes.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I was worried.
I think I don't know if they would have handled it differently if he hadn't stabbed a person. But as soon as they get the reporting that somebody's been hurt,
They assume it was him acting, but it was just an accident as they went over the thing, and then
it was your fault, police people.
The spike trap down. So then they go. Of course, the 118 shows up, and Hen goes in because they need a paramedic. Obviously, they need a paramedic in there. So Hen goes in. She wants to go in. She asks to go in, right?
She does, and the others do actually remember Archie. This time.
Yes, this time they do, yes. And so
yeah, she's like, I need to speak to him. Like, trust me, he's not gonna hurt anyone. This man is not a danger. And they're like, he's already hurt someone. She's like, head knows. She's like, just get me in. And she starts speaking when she's well away from the bus. And I'm amazed that he can hear her. She's like, it's Hen. Hi, can I come in?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he does let her in. And I'm just looking at my notes. Yes, I've done that one. And yeah, she gets him to let, first of all, the injured guy off, who is that's good. And then, like, very, very briefly afterwards, he lets everyone else off too. Yeah. And Hen is very clear. Keep your hands where the police can see them. Because even if you're a victim, they don't know that you're a victim. So they have to treat everyone like that they might have been involved, or they might, And hi, is we've got another 911 friend of mine.
Hello.
And then she has a conversation with Archie, and she's good. She says to him, I wasn't really talking to you. Because she's like, I gave you terrible advice. And he's like, no, you gave me great advice. And I'm like, I don't know how you still think that's a... And she says, I wasn't really talking to you. It's like you weren't even there. Like, kick a man when he's down, Hen.
But it was like a realization for her too in that moment. Like she realized that she was doing the exact same thing as everybody else. But she isn't doing it now. Like that's what she's saying. She was doing it then. She isn't doing it now. She says, I see you. Like that was, I think, a really powerful moment where she just says, I see you, and looks right at him and tells him that. So that was important for him. But she does eventually talk him down and talk him into leaving the bus.
Yeah. And she says one of the reasons she is able to get him off the bus is because, and I quote, it's my birthday, but it's not.
Right, because it was 3 days ago or however long that was. Yep. That's right.
Hi, Lauren. We've got another one of my 911 mutuals in. It's great.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And yeah, so it's not her birthday. And that was the first time we got the mention again. And I was like, I did one of those classics sort of, I was writing my notes and I was like, what? You say what now? Today is not your birthday. It can't possibly be your birthday. That doesn't make any sense. And he knows that because he said happy birthday to her yesterday.
He was there. He was the first person to wish her happy birthday, other than Athena. He was the other person to wish her happy birthday. And he kind of looked at the rest of them like, how did you not know?
Yeah.
But anyway. But all turns out well
well, it nearly doesn't. Because when she's out, having told everyone, keep your hands up, she says, hold my hand and we'll walk out together. You can't walk out with him, first of all, holding hands, and then he reaches into his pocket, which again, that's his fault, but you can't walk out with him holding hands. You need the police to be able to see both of his hands are empty. Yeah. So already that seemed completely bonkers to me. And then, because he's just such a naive man, he's like, oh, hey, and he reaches into his pocket to get her the keychain. And then he gets them both killed.
And she saves them. She pushes them down and saves them because they would have shot him. They totally would have shot him. Come on, guys. It's ridiculous. But it's a cluck and pluck keychain because her name's Hen. Get it? It's a chicken. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I'm glad he explained that because I wouldn't have got there. And I was like, oh, that's actually really sweet. And then she's like, I'll treasure it. And I'm like, you should. I would have that little thing in a frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ante's saying that, that Hen should have said it's my birthday week. And I did say, like, when I was talking about it in my other video, some people extend their birthdays. Like if I forget someone's birthday, I talk to them the next day and I go, I'm so sorry. Please consider this an extension of your birthday. So maybe she's like, well, it's still my birthday because now we're celebrating it. Because it doesn't make any sense. And then again we get, so that's a nighttime situation. Then we get another nighttime situation with Hen and Karen and Athena and Bobby sitting around having dinner and celebrating Hen's birthday. And she does eventually say, this is probably the best birthday I've ever had. And again, not your birthday. But is that also like that? I feel like that's the next night.
Yeah, it's the third day 3 now of this whole thing. Yes, I agree. I was right there too. I was like, this is not the same day. I the birthday week thing makes sense to me. And I'm totally, if I had, like, say this is a Monday, she goes into work Monday, everyone forgets her birthday on Monday. The rest of the week is her birthday. So
yeah.
And then they could even have a little line about that or something.
Yeah.
Could have explained that a little bit,
Just an acknowledgement, because it feels like when you see them, the way they've put together the episode and they do stuff like that, you start to think, is it a mistake? Like, have they edited stuff around? Was that meant to be the same night? And they've added it, they've moved it to a different day. Because, it sort of doesn't, and Lauren says Buck has certainly been at it in the garden for several hours. So they can't have come off that shift. And I thought, again, with Bobby doing the cooking, they can't have come away from, that was like their final call of the shift, was the bus. And then immediately gone home and Bobby's cooked and Buck's done all of that yard work.
Yeah.
This is another day. And I love that we got the I can't remember what the word is. Oh, I'm having a brain fog moment. Well, anyway, Chim is whimsical. Bobby apologizes with food. And Buck is just guilt personified. And we know this about Buck. And I loved it when she's like, Karen says to her, she says, how long are you gonna have him do yard work for us? And she says, as long as he feels guilty, we might have him till the fall. And I was like, I think you could have him longer.
Yeah, that's funny. Milk him till the next birthday. Right?
Yeah. Funny. So I really enjoyed that. And then she says again, just at the end, yeah, it's definitely my best birthday. Not your birthday!
All right. Whatever you say, Hen.
So we are done with Hen. And then we get the one that made me really happy, which was the Eddie side of the storyline. So Eddie's still in Texas, still trying to fix up his house and handle his relationship with Chris. And so the first thing we see with them is a kitchen buddy conversation.
Yeah, I made note of that as well. I knew you'd like that. This seems to be a regular thing now. Like, it really is the same everything as any conversation those two guys had in person. And I kind of like that they're continuing that. Even with having Eddie in a different city, they're still talking on a regular in the kitchen, as is natural for them. So yeah, I like that. And they did it a couple times in this. And then there was one with Chimney, which I really liked. Chimney was in on one of those conversations.
What I liked with the Chimney bit was that, Buck, when he holds the phone for him talking to Eddie, there's quite a bit of distance. So you get to see quite, Buck's head and then his body and stuff, But then he turns the camera around to put Chim and it's like, hello. Chim is like, he's like so close to the camera.
Yeah, it's funny.
I was like, Buck, back up a bit, buddy. But I loved that, I hated that he spent all this time trying to make this wonderful meal. He's like, it's the first meal in the new house. It has to be fork tender. And my mum treats recipes like they're a religion. I can't mess this up. And then they turn up with Chinese takeaway.
Yeah. and
Straight
totally
to jail.
totally
Yep.
disregard him. Oh, I told you I was cooking. Oh, did you? Oh, there's just more choice then. That's so like just demeaning. And boy, I just gotta say, Eddie's mom is a piece of work. I have to like, I don't know if this has come up before or we just got it all in this episode, but wow, is she a horrible
No,
person?
I am so glad you are on board with that. Yes. No.
And it doesn't. I mean, I don't know that his dad is as quite as bad, but his dad is also not guilt free in this whole ordeal as well, as it turns out. But they're both like just like keeping him away. It seems like they're threatened by him being there now, right? They were okay when he was away. They fell into a nice kind of routine with Chris and taking care of him and everything. And they were like, it was like their parents again, right? I bet you that's how it felt for them to be able to have a child at home who needed their help. But then Eddie comes back to be in his life, and they're just like, oh, well, he's got a chess thing this weekend, and he had, by the way, Eddie had planned to take him to a Mavericks game. He was going to go take him to a basketball game, and that was like he had this whole thing that he was going to surprise him with tickets, and like, oh, he's got this chess tournament, and there's only one seat on the bus for one parent, so your dad's going to go because he's a coach.
Parent was a very important thing that I didn't pick up on until we saw the next scene with Chris at the chess tournament. There is space on the bus for one parent. She doesn't say guardian. She doesn't say, a company, whatever that word would be. She says parent.
And even then, like didn't even think of it until Buck pointed it out in their next conversation. But it's like, that's just a seat on the bus. Go there yourself. You're an Uber. Go take an Uber. You're an Uber. Go there. Like, it's like there's no reason why you can't go to this thing. Yeah. Right? It's just because you can't get a seat on the bus.
Yeah. Dad up. I like that line. Dad up. Yeah, and Eddie says to him, like, oh, I just don't want to damage him. And he's like, Eddie, he has no mum. You're the only one left to damage it. Like, it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
But we've skipped ahead. But the whole thing, the thing that made me laugh, I did a little bit of Googling because I think I said last week about Texas is massive and El Paso is like the California side of it. And Dallas and Austin and all what I heard someone else refer to as all the fun stuff of Texas is right at the other side of Texas. So I was looking up how far Dallas is from El Paso. It is 9 to 10 hours away.
Okay.
That is one hell of a road trip for you to love.
Bad.
And it's, you're a Canadian and these people are American and they're probably much more used to it. But I am from a country the size of a thumbnail and, in comparison. And that's like us going to, me going to the middle of Scotland, or the north of Scotland. And I mean, we've driven a long way for football matches. I'm a big Stoke City fan. And, back when I was going to games, we would go to away games, in London and stuff. And it would be like a 4-hour drive. But the idea of being like a 9 to 10 hour drive, that's one hell of a road trip. But then they say this chess tournament is in Lubbock. And Buck is like, take an Uber. You're an Uber. Take an Uber. That is 6.5 hours away. That is an expensive Uber to get there and back and have them like, are they going to hang around? Are you going to get a different one? That is 13 hours of Uber, Buck. Buck,
well, I gotta say,
you should know that.
I want to say a little thing about the road trip because I am Canadian. We have wide open spaces out here. And a regular road trip for me when I was a child was to go to Minneapolis, which is to the south. It's in the States to the south. That's 8 hours away, 8-hour road trip. That's not bad. Edmonton is 16 hours. I've done that quite a few times. Calgary, I've gone all the way to the West Coast and back, which was like a whole month we spent driving. But
yes, when you go to Minnesota, do you do it in one day?
Well, yeah, I've done it in one day. I've also done Chicago in 2 days, where we go to stop in Minnesota, stay overnight, and then go to Chicago from there. And that's like 6 hours away from Minneapolis. So it's not so bad the second day. So that's much better. But it's a long time. I don't love it. I don't love doing. Yeah. I was just saying this. I was just telling my girlfriend this. I was like, I don't really like highway driving. And I don't feel like that is very safe. And I used to do it a lot. When I had kids, we'd pile them into the minivan and go drive somewhere. And we used to do that all the time. I don't think I would ever do that.
And I I think that's what it is for me, that I was like, okay, so it's the match is on the Saturday. Chris is in school. So are you going to take him on the Saturday morning for the game? And then are you driving back on the same day? Like, I just couldn't, the logistics of it just.
No, but that's a very good point, because when we would go to Minneapolis, it's like the whole day is driving, right? So we would go for like 5 days so that we have time to spend time in the city and do things. And then but it's like one day driving out. It's not worth it for a weekend. Like we would spend all day Friday driving, Saturday, Sunday, maybe. And if it's a long weekend, we can spend the Monday driving back, but it's only 2 days. So
yeah, so I don't get it. We've got Lauren and Ante in the comments having a brilliant conversation about something that I want to bring up when we get to that point. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute, you guys, because it made me so happy. So we get Eddie and his mum running into each other at the supermarket, and she's again sniffy about his job, you know, like, oh, you know, because he's doing driving, he's driving orders, he's
Uber Eats. It's just Uber Eats, it's delivering groceries. But first she assumes the groceries are his. She's like, look at all that sugar and look at all that stuff that's bad for you. Like, she's just criticizing immediately as soon as she shows up, she's criticizing him.
And she's criticizing his parenting.
Yes. Yeah. Chris can't eat that stuff or whatever. Yeah, it's just awful. But yeah, he's delivering food for somebody else as part of his Uber job. That's what he does as well.
Yeah. And it's really, he is so nice to that woman, and she doesn't deserve it. He is a better man than me. And he sort of like takes it on the chin and absorbs it and just doesn't react to it. Because I imagine that Helena Diaz is the kind of person who, if you did react to it, she'd make it about her and she's the victim, and so he's probably learned not to do that. And when he said, like, oh, you know, I'm here now, I want to hang out with my son, you know, and she's like, oh yes, and I genuinely thought for a second that she was gonna sort of be nice about it. Oh my god, Rainbow Nerds has joined, all the 911 people here, I love it. And if I thought for a second, it's very naive and foolish of me, that she was going to be nice about it and be like, oh, yeah, no, God, I'm so sorry, of course you should go. But the way she does it, oh, yeah, no, we'll just tell your dad that he has to stay home. It was so, she's just terrible.
It's just awful. And I've known people like that in my life, and it's just horrible to be subjected to that, especially when it's your mother, right? Like, I imagine it's very difficult to deal with that, being your mother. But I could see that even if you think about the way Eddie was talking about, like, the slow cooker, and it has to be perfect and stuff, like, you can tell he's used to being put under pressure by her, and like there's something there he's gonna deal with.
Previously, we've heard his dad worked away from home a lot. And he was like the man of the house from, like, I don't know, 10. You know, he was told, you are the man of the house and you are going to look after your sisters, and Diaz men don't cry, and we are, you know. And so he has always had this vaguely toxic masculine, you know, ideology put upon him, and had, you know, a mum that didn't really see him necessarily as a child that she was responsible for, that she, you know, needed to look after. He was there to help her look after the other kids. And so when he backs down immediately to her, if you don't know the context of it, all of his backstory, I can imagine that you'd be like, well, just stand up to her, man. But he's learned that it's not.
No, I know what that's like. It's difficult to do that when a person's like that, especially as it's been like that for years and years, and you're just used to it. You're just used to the person just like always coming at you with that kind of stuff, and always like guilting you or making you feel awful about things that aren't really anything you should feel bad about. That's just, yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry, we're bringing me back to old relationships. Let's not go there.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, this was not a good episode for anyone who's dealt with that sort of relationship.
Yeah, no, I for sure.
And also they say, like, because Eddie says, oh, I'll let Dad go, he's his coach. He's not his coach. Like, they mention another coach. They're like, oh, Coach so-and-so says he's a ringer.
They pay for lessons, or pay for something, coaching, something, right? There was something going on there. And that's that's shitty too. That like when we find out that later on, it's like all that stuff was not for Chris, right? The coaching, all that stuff was just to make the dad feel good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that just sucks. It's oh man, it pisses me off.
And so we then get to the the thing, the tournament. Yes. So, and we find out that Ramon has either let everyone assume or has told people that he is Christopher's father. And either way, that really sucks.
Yeah.
Because what are they saying to Chris at home? Because Chris has a panic attack. Now, Eddie knows what... Eddie, I do not panic Diaz, knows what those are because he has previously had panic attacks. And, you know, Chris is sick and, you know... And Ramon is like... He doesn't even think to bring his crutches to help Chris get away from this situation. You know, like, he's just not... Yeah, he's not there for Chris. He's there for him.
I imagine he felt embarrassed in that moment. You know, that's what I kind of felt like in that moment. But before we get there, like, I wanted to say this whole... They were playing, like, this classical music during this whole chess scene as they're leading up to it. Were they trying to do, like, a Queen's Gambit kind of a thing where they're, like, being very serious? Chess is being played.
Yes!
We're hitting the switches, we're doing the things. Like, it was all kind of very... And I mean, I guess the whole point of it was to, like, build up the tension of, like, this is a very serious event, and we're all taking this very seriously. And the grandpa is sitting there, like, he's like, you know what to do, Chris, and all that stuff. It was just the tension was huge. And of course, then Chris just explodes, right? Because he's so stressed out about it. Poor kid. I thought it was poor kid being put in that situation where you have nothing, you have no other outlet other than to do that and to be sick, and it's not your fault.
It's terrible. They did do, and I suppose chess is sort of like, you know, sort of a highbrow considered sport. Mm-hmm. And classical music is like a highbrow sort of music. And so I suppose the two, that's why they put the two together. But I do love, it's like when they show like poker, and I don't know how poker works, and nor do I know how chess works. So they're like, ooh, look at this, isn't it tense? And I'm like, I don't know, is it? Is this good? Is this bad? I have no idea.
We feel something. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be feeling, but it's exciting. Yes, I agree. Yeah. Okay.
And then we get the scene in the bathroom where Eddie's cleaning Chris up. And it's absolutely devastating. He's like, Dad, I hate chess. Absolutely brilliant. And I do it because Grandpa loves it, you know. And you kind of... He's gone into this house. He asked them to take him out of a situation that he was uncomfortable in, you know, with his dad. Fair enough. And he's gone into their house and they've just sort of taken over his life. Which I don't feel like Eddie did as a dad.
No,
Eddie was driven by Chris's wants and needs, and his parents are driven by their wants and needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he says, oh, I was going to ask you to move in with me. Oh, are you getting a phone call?
Yeah, it's my son. I don't know what's going on. Like, he can't wait 15 minutes? Oh, he said he didn't mean to call. Okay, thank you.
That's okay. But dial. And so he says, I was going to ask you to move in with me, but I've changed my mind. I'm not going to ask you. And I was like, oh my God, you horrible man. And it was the same.
I knew where he was going with. I knew exactly. Like, there was a certain point where you could see the switch went in him. He was like, no, okay, I'm going to take control of this. Yeah. As soon as he realized when Chris tells him, I don't like chess, I'm just doing this for them. And then I think what Eddie realized that he did the same thing. Like, they talk about ballroom dancing. Like, that was the example that comes up. So he did ballroom dancing until he was 14 or something like that. And he was really good and won all these trophies. And he's like, I was good at it and I enjoyed it until you guys sucked all the fun out of it and made it about the trophies. And then it was not fun. And that's exactly what you're doing with Chris here. So he just decides, I'm going to dad up. He's going to dad up. He's going to
dad up. He's going to listen to
Chris. And then a few people have said in the comments already, the point where Chris says, you're going to be my dad again. Like, that just gets...
Yeah, well, that was, again, like, I felt like, what have Helena and Ramon been saying to him? are you going to be my dad? He's always been your dad. Your grandparents have not let him be your dad. You know, like they interrupt your conversations when they're on FaceTime, and they like when you buy him a PS5 and he's like, do you want to keep it at my house? They make excuses for him to keep it at their house. Like, they have stood in his way. They have been a massive obstacle all this time. And when he was like, I've always been your dad, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah,
So I was very, very pleased that they had that moment. And then we got snarky, happy Eddie. And that's my favourite kind of Eddie. Is going he's driven 6.5 hours back to Texas with his son in the passenger seat. His dad, this is what Lauren and Nante were talking about, his dad had to sit on that bus for 6.5 hours with the people he had let assume he was Chris's dad. And he had to sit there in his shame for 6.5 hours. And I know there's a lot of like shaming people doesn't work, but he deserved that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. You know?
Yeah. So that was so fun. And again, Eddie being nice to his mum in that situation is much more powerful than him going, you're terrible and I hate you.
Yeah.
Because it gives her nowhere to go.
Yeah. It doesn't give her anything. He's just like, he's my son. I'm taking him. Nothing you could do about it, and he's gone, right? And she can't respond to it. She can't come back at him because he's not giving her any ammunition.
Yeah. And somebody made a really good point, and I can't remember who it was, so I'm so sorry. But somebody said Eddie has a silver star. I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you remember Buck being like, Eddie would never do anything illegal. He's got a silver star. He hates that silver star. He never talks about it. Chris wanted him to come to like show and tell with his silver star and tell the story about it. And somebody said it's almost like that thing about the ballroom dancing trophies. They made it all about the trophies, so he hates trophies. So maybe that is part of the reason why he doesn't like the silver star either, because it's like rewarding him for something that he doesn't feel he should have gone through, you know. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a really interesting idea. I like that. It's really, that's deep. I'm sure the show didn't mean it.
Well, you can see the meaning anywhere. See what meaning you like, right? It's valid.
And also his mum's like, you could have gone to college. You could have got a scholarship for ballroom dancing and gone to college. And he's like, well, I could have gone to college anyway. I mean, he didn't because he had Christopher, but he could. And she's like, yeah, but you didn't. And now look at you. You're a driver. No, he's currently, first of all, we need drivers. You know. Mm. And so it's a completely valid job. We are grateful to the people who do it. Second of all, he's only currently a driver because he can't get the job as a firefighter that he has been doing for 7 years.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, he could have also done without a college degree, I think. So,
and he really should be doing out there anyway, because there's something wrong with the fire departments in El Paso that don't hire him for some reason. I don't know what's going on there, but anyway. I'm hoping...
It was the pay freeze. It was the hiring freeze.
Now, okay, sorry, I don't want to get ahead of this, but do you think now that Chris is living with him, now we don't want to disrupt Chris's life too much, right? Because he's going to school, he's got friends, he's got things going on. But now that Chris and Eddie are living together again, is this just a matter of time before Eddie goes back to LA and rejoins the 118?
When Chris said, punch it, Dad, I just saw them, like, Eddie taking that and going, yes! And so him being like, driving, and then Chris going like, where are we going? And him just driving them straight back to LA.
Yeah.
I thought that would be so funny. But no, I don't think, because he's invested money in that house.
Yeah, he's there for the long haul now, right?
Yes.
And I get it. And Chris is in school. You don't want to pull him out if he's got friends and stuff going on. He doesn't like chess. That's great, but let's find out what he does like and let's get him into something he does like, right? That's what you want to do now.
So is he? The question is, like, is he going to wait out maybe the school year and sell, like, fix up the house as much as he can and sell it at a bit of a profit. And then, like, we don't know whether his mind is immediately going to be like, okay, brilliant, I have Chris back. Now we start our plan to go back to LA. Or whether he's still going to be like, no, I'm going to stay here forever. Because they can't leave him there. They can't leave him there with his parents. He'll never be happy again. And I can't bear it. So I want him to be immediately like going, okay, well, now that this was step 1. Step 2 is to get him back to LA, to get, our life back in LA. Because it's not like Chris was unhappy there. He's got friends and, he's got a whole life there. So I don't think Chris would be against it. But I just did punch it, Dad. And then, 12 hours later, they're in LA and Chris is like, what happened? I didn't mean to punch it quite that far. All my stuff's back there. But never mind, carry on. Fuck! Yay! So I think that is everything for that episode. So yeah, it was a game of two halves. It was Hen's storyline that kept making me go, oh, the continuity's wrong, and I'm so angry everyone forgot her birthday and it would never happen. And then there was the other one who was like, yeah, Eddie, yay!
I just kept finding myself getting angry at the parents in Eddie's story. I was like, oh, this just again, I've experienced that kind of thing before, and so that hit close to home for me. So that was my one that was getting me worked up. But it was very good episode. So I'm looking forward to next week.
Very briefly, I've watched I've watched a couple of things. So, and I wanted to say to you, I watched the first season of Slow Horses, and I loved it. It was
just amazing.
It was so good. So I'm gonna watch the next 4 seasons. I think that are available of that.
There's 4. I'm currently in the middle of season 4 right now, so I'm almost done. My Apple TV Plus free trial is almost done, so I've successfully watched all the shows I wanted to watch on Apple TV.
Very good.
It's ever. But that's good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, it's a very, very good show.
So I've really enjoyed that, and I also watched a sitcom on Netflix called Running Point, which is a Mindy Kaling thing.
Oh, sure.
And it's Kate Hudson and Brenda Song, and Kate Hudson is the only daughter in a family who, like, her brother runs the basketball team. They all work at the basketball team, and her brother, like, gets sent to rehab, and so he needs someone else to take on the, directorship of the team, and he gives it to her.
Okay.
She is the first woman to be like a president, in the thing. And yeah, it's just a delight. It's just very silly and very funny, and I'm glad that they've got a season 2. I look forward to the second season.
Very cool. I've been watching. I tell you, the show I've been watching a lot this week has been MASH. Have you ever watched MASH?
No, I've never seen the series or the film. I know the very famous MASH story, like have you seen it before? I don't want to say anything that's going to spoil anything.
Well, it's old. Don't worry about spoiling stuff. I will.
The chicken story. Do you know the chickens?
I don't know the chicken story. No.
Well, I won't tell you then, because it's a great moment of television.
Okay, I'll wait. I'll tell you when I get there then. What I was going to say was that, it's very strange, because for me, it's very nostalgic. It was almost like a lullaby for me when I went to sleep as a child, because it would come on at 10 o'clock and my parents would always watch it. And that's how I knew it was time for me to go to bed, because MASH comes on, okay, go to bed. The theme song starts going, and I would fall asleep to the sounds of that show. But I didn't like it myself. Like, if they let me stay up to watch it, I would always kind of get bored and go, this is like adult stuff. It's like, it's all green. It's kind of boring. Like, I didn't understand it. So then I never watched it over the course. I have seen the movie. The movie is very good. Donald Sutherland and Ellie Gould, and it's an excellent film based on a book. The whole thing is based on a book about the Korean War. And so the series, though, just does this amazing job. And I think a lot of shows copied it, as far as, like, you've got your setting, you've got all your characters, and then just every week something compelling happens, something different. All these things, all these characters come together in different ways, and it really is just really groundbreaking in that way. I think just the way it brought all these different storylines together, and it's a lot of fun to watch. I'm just enjoying watching it. I do like 2 episodes a day.
Are they half-hour episodes, or are they hour-long episodes?
Half hour, yeah. Back when they only took up 4 minutes, like the episodes are actually 26 minutes long, because the 4 minutes were commercials. Now it's 22 minutes. Right now, of course, it's even like we have 22-minute sitcoms, and back then, not as many ads. I think they should go back to that.
They should go back to that. Yeah. I will just say the other thing I watched the first episode of the second season of The Night Agent. I really enjoyed the first season in a sort of, mindless thriller kind of way. I enjoyed that. And I watched the first episode of the second season. Did you see the first?
No, I've not seen that one.
It's on Netflix. And I was excited about the second season. And the first episode ended up so contrived. The way they had to bring these characters back together, I was like, "Oh, no!" And so I might have to take a minute before. It's either something that I will get over immediately because the second episode is good, and I'm like, "Okay, fine, you had to do that just to put them back together." Okay, fine, whatever. But I was so like, "Oh, really?" At the end of the first episode, this is so stupid. So that was kind of disappointing. That's why I went over to Running Point. I was like, I need something light-hearted to get my mind off this.
Cool.
So yeah, well, this was fun as ever. And next week, I don't know if you're aware of this, we get the first of a new 2-part storyline on 911.
Exciting.
So that'll be very exciting. Yes. I will speak to you then. Then I'll speak to you on Sunday about the first of the 2 parts.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thanks for all the people who are in the comments. It's been great to see what you're saying. So thanks for being here. Bye.
Bye.